Welcome to week 5 of the Beginner Boost. This week we are going to be focused on making changes to files, and we've already been kind of focused on moving files around and searching for them and stuff like that. We actually haven't, there's a couple of commands that we have left over to do with regard to, moving files around. We have not done the mv command, which I want to add right here really quick. So how do I move or rename a file or directory? And let's see, how do I move multiple files? How to remove what's multiple files? So one of the reasons that I avoided these commands last time was that, they require a discussion of something called globbing, which is the way to specify more than one file at a time. Okay, and that's not something that we did in the other weeks, because we were all about dealing with one file at a time, and we want to keep it really succinct. So there's two main things that we're going to do today. We're going to wrap up the moving around of files and all of those commands and directories, and then we're going to start. We're going to touch on the absolute minimum. We did a prep session last week. I don't know if you know this, but every week we do a prep session to try to focus in on the absolute minimum necessary to get you boosted, which I'll just as a reminder is to fulfill something like a machine learning engineering job where all you care about is using Linux. You don't care about becoming a great system administrator. It's certainly an essential step to that, but there's a lot of stuff in the internet and online that in certifications that go too far. They require you to know things that only a system administrator for Linux or Unix would need to know. And really, you just want to be good on the command line. That means you've already got Linux. Someone's already set it up for you, right? So the assumption, generally speaking, on the internet in general, when they talk about Linux, is that you want to become a system administrator. Really, you just want to use it. So I just want to restate that. That's the reason that we kind of skipped week 3 and we went with week 4 last week. And it's the reason that as we go forward, every single decision about what we cover and when is scrutinized with that one priority in mind. What is the minimum I need to do to be able to be productive using Linux, right? Not and I'm talking about the Unix command line and stuff like that. All right, so let's keep going. So that's where this statement comes from. Just once again, the ones over to the left, people always ask. That's because it's in Markdown. That'll be rendered as 1, 2, 3, 4. We covered that on the first day. So what is the minimum I need to understand about users' groups' permissions to be productive? How do I search within a file, inside of a file? Like if I want to search from the command line, I want to go inside a file and find stuff in there. These all have commands that go with them. If you know the command, awesome. I'm deliberately doing it like this so that you can quiz yourself, right? So as you're going through, you can ask. Also, this will help it pop up more quickly in search results, whether it be through the skillstack.io. Just a reminder for those of you who don't remember, you can go to skillstack.io and you can see all of the stuff for the Beginner Boost is here. The overview, the quick start, and such are all here. We're on week 5, which is not posted yet, but here in week 4, you can see how we did that, right? So we have this right here, and if you want to quiz yourself, you can just kind of cover over these answers and then just look at this. There is a way for us to cover that, so you have to click on it to see it, but we've decided to not do that so that it prints well. So if you want to quiz yourself, the reason that we did it this way is so that if you want to test yourself in kind of a multiple choice way, you can go in and do it, and you can answer those questions, okay? So that's why we do it that way. How do I search within a file from the command line? It's also, by the way, the same recipe as the recipe books, the O'Reilly, very famous, recipe style books, which are like each section is like a specific task and how to do it. And that's been a very popularized model, starting, I believe, with O'Reilly back in the 90s as a publisher. How do I filter out and only certain lines of a file? How do I edit a file with the official editor for Unix? That's right, the official editor for Unix and Linux. We're going to talk about which editor that is. It's not what you think, probably. And how do I change a file in place from the command line? It's called in-place editing. And at the very end, we're going to talk about regular expressions, and that is plenty to fill 2 hours. Okay, we are going to take our break, but you won't notice it because we're going to take a pause in the middle. But in case you're wondering, I'll just spoiler alert here: we are not going to cover all of the editing stuff in today. So some of that's going to spill over to next week. And there's one specific, very popular editor that's not going to be covered today. It's not the editor you think, but we are going to cover the official Unix editor. A few people in the chat actually know what I'm talking about. And I always get laughed at when I cover this because nobody on the internet covers it. In fact, I would challenge you to find a single YouTube video besides mine that actually covers the official Unix editor. And it's not what you think. Yeah, so everybody's making fun guesses. Okay, we'll get to it. So let's kind of keep this up here, and so okay. So just a reminder: if you don't have your boost container up, you should have it up. If you are just joining us for the first time, go do the quick start. Right, so it's a quick start video. It's 40 minutes. This is the first video on my entire site. And if you go there and watch the quick start, that will get you going. Then in order to get started, you only have to do one thing. Okay, so after you get the quick start video, you pull up your terminal. You already know how to do that. Okay, and then what? Also covered in the quick start, we do this. We do podman start -a y-a to attach, and then boost. We named it boost. You can name it whatever. And that's gonna boom. We're logged in. We're logged in as a user on the SKILSTAK container image. It's a container from the SKILSTAK image. All of that's covered in the quick start. So that's the first thing you need, right? And we'll use the commands we did from last week. List all the files, list -a. Again, this is all covered here. How to change directories, how to look at files. We covered piping and redirection. We covered all, this is super important that you understand standard error and standard out. Make sure you don't skip that. You need to understand the different streams of data and how they are modeled by devices and stuff like that. Okay, so that, I'm assuming you know all that. Here we go. So now it's time to start doing stuff. Now, as you can see, I've already got a bunch of files here, and we are going to go through all of these files, just not today. So we're going to go into what they are, but we need to learn how to look into files and move stuff around, and then how to minimally edit files before we start doing all of that customization. All right, so let's, and we're going to keep this project based today. So we're going to have some goals. Like, for example, the primary goal today is going to be, I want to start writing scripts. I want to start doing things on my terminal, right? So there's a few things you need to be able to do that, right? So, and one of the commands that we did not have, and I actually just realized I need to add, let's see. Okay, so how do I create a new directory? Okay, so we already did how do I remove a directory. So let's make sure I didn't cover this. I know it's rough, but so we had create a new file, but we don't have how to create a directory. So let's do that one right away. And if you don't like how rough and this is, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. All right, so let's make a directory. So let's say I want to make a place to put my scripts. Okay, so there's nothing here. We don't necessarily want it hidden. We haven't covered hidden files, but let's actually talk about that. So how do I hide a file or directory? You know, I don't like that it calls it hide, but it depending on the operating system, it does hide it. So the answer to that is pretty simple. You put a dot in front of it, right? Do we want our scripts directory to be hidden? No. So let's go ahead and make a directory for our scripts. Now we're going to move this thing later after we learn about GitHub, but not right now. So make directory, mkdir, that's the name, okay? And then we're going to do mkdir, and then we're going to put the name. Let's just call it scripts, okay? And now if we do our ls, we have that. Now if I did ls-al, or ll, which is al, you'll see that we have all these other stuff, but now we see the scripts directory. Right now, we haven't gone through what all of this stuff means yet, and we're going to today. We're going to go through why is it user, and we're going to go through that today. But don't worry. So just ls by itself, it shows you only the stuff that you have that are visible, and then you have the scripts directory in there. Okay, we already know how to change into that directory, right? So cd scripts. All right, so now we are inside of this directory. How do we know? Because when I cd'd it, put it there, right? And when I want to see where I am, I pwd and it shows me where I am. Plus my prompt is also telling me that I'm in the scripts directory here. You can use sheets sometimes. It doesn't have everything, but so that's how we're going to go in the directory. So let's actually put this here. So how do I create a new directory? And we're going to write it out. I'm using, you guys, this is a good markdown review. You should be taking notes. Do you guys have your notes open? You should have your notes open and be keeping your own notes, right? We went through notes on the first day. So open up your GitHub in another window and get ready to start taking notes. And you should be practicing your markdown. So you're writing your own textbook, your own black book, as they used to call it, where you're going to do your thing. So I'm going to put shell here. And then let's put, so what is the command I just did? Did I do 4, by the way? I have to do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't do 4, it won't indent it. So, and it won't do it properly. So we're gonna put here. What are we gonna put? How do I create a new directory? We're gonna put mkdir, right? And we'll say name. And when it's all caps, so this is a convention. I'm using the same convention that you see in man pages. So man, if I do man and make docs, right? No, what am I saying? Mkdir. There you go. So see this is I'm using the same conventions for my documentation that you'll find in man pages. So in man, and this varies across the board. People will sometimes do, like put angle brackets and all that kind of jazz. No, just use the same thing that man pages use, manual pages. So this is anytime you have something that isn't a variable or it can be changed. A directories, right? See directory. They use all caps to refer to it. Okay, so that I'm going to follow that convention in my documentation, and I strongly recommend that you follow the same. Okay, as you can see, the mkdir command has lots of different arguments, and you can try those. I encourage you to do that. Where again, the boost is designed to get you, so you know what you need to know, and then show you where to go find it and stuff. So, and to some degree, to do it with you. So there you go. That's the mkdir command. We need to change into that directory. And how do we do that? You already know it. How to edit markdown notes from your phone. You don't. That I know of. You could open it with the web browser, but that would be a bad idea. Yeah. Editing notes from your phone is hard. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's right now we haven't covered anything with regard to that. So, but if you want to try it, go for it. So, yeah. I mean, if you're going to use third-party applications to take notes, look, taking notes is your deal, but I'm just telling you, if you don't take notes in GitHub, you will lose them and you will be sad. The whole point of putting them in GitHub is so you have a backup, right? And you should definitely be using Markdown to take your notes. So, but if you insist on taking notes from your phone, which I think is, the whole point of this is using a terminal, which means you essentially have, a machine at your disposal while you're doing this, then I suggest against taking notes with a phone. But if that's what you want to do, fine. All right, so we got our scripts directory. How do we get into there? We already did it. We did CD scripts here, right? How do I learn information about CD? Man CD. Uh-oh, there's no man page information. Just a little bit of a review. Why don't I get any information for CD? What's the other ways to get help? This is in week 1, right? So we can do help CD, and then we can get the information. Oh no, it went off the screen. How do I see all of it? We covered that already. Pipe to less or more, right? So there we go. Change the shell as working directory. Okay, good. Right, the reason for what's the difference between help and man? Covered that already. I'm just giving you review questions. All right. So how do I hide a file? 1, 2, 3, 4. say, and these I might make these into flashcards. So let's see. Give it a period, a dot, as the first character in name. Yeah. All right. So how do I rename a file or directory? Let's do that. Okay. We're going to go faster because we're going to spend the time on Ed. So if we wanted to create, let's see here. Let's say we did this. What I do with the two dots there, by the way, went up one level, right? What if I don't like that name? What if I want to use a capital? I don't, and you probably shouldn't, but what if I did? Okay, it's the MV command. So the MV command takes whatever its target is, and then, I don't know, did you see that? I push SC tab. Okay, get used to doing that. It's called tab completion. You should do that. All right, I'm going to put the thing here. How do I avoid typing long or complicated names, especially ones that have white space in them, right? Tap tab for once or twice for tab completion. All right. This is built by default in most shells, including the one we're using today. If it does not work, it means it hasn't been enabled or hasn't been installed. That's not a topic for the boost, but that is, if you want to learn how to activate it, that would be Home Lab and it, or one of our other boosts that we're going to have. Okay, so that's how you do it. So let's try it. I'm just going to keep adding them as we encounter them. This one, however, needs to go away. That one needs to go away. There we go. All right. So let me put this. What is this, week 5? I'm just renaming my nodes so I know which one we're on. All right. So we'll go back here. So we want to move it now. I put a slash after that. That's okay. That's just to show it's a directory. Slashes will be ignored if they're not relevant. So it's okay that it put the slash. We put a space, and I want to name it capital scripts. Don't need a slash. I could, but I don't need it. And now you see that it's been renamed to scripts. So practice that. Practice making a directory and renaming it a couple times. Right? Now let's actually hide it. All right. How do I do that? Scripts to dot secret scripts. All right. How about that? Oh no, where did it go? All right, there it is. It's there, dot secret scripts, right? So, but we want to be able to see it. So dot secret scripts is going to be turn it back to scripts. And we've got it. We can cd into scripts. And I push tab again. So I push tab for everything, because let me show you something where okay, so let's talk about complicated names, right? Especially on Windows. And this is another reason that we use Git Bash. In fact, I am going to use Git Bash as an example of why you want to learn tab completion in Bash. So I'm about to open up a new window. This is a Git Bash window on Windows. You can do it with Brew. You can do a terminal on Mac, whatever. The reason I'm going to use this is because this is a much more likely place for you to find a need for naming. So as you know, this is my personal streaming PC. And the stuff that you're looking at right now are the files that are on my machine. And if you immediately can see that they are Windows-like files, right? They don't look like, happy, pretty, stuff from Bash or from Linux. And you can see the extensions that are exes because they're Windows. And then you see weird stuff like this, like VirtualBox, VMs. Let's do that again. ls pipe to more. Oh wait, there's no ls and there's no more because this is Windows. Let's try less. All right, so there we go. This is okay. So here are some folders that are in my desktop that I just made out of for no reason at all, using the graphic, the desktop user interface. See how they have spaces in them? Annoying, right? Well, check this out. Watch what happens when I try. So I can do ls. Let's do ls new tab. I did 2 tabs. Did you see that? I'm going to do that again. Again, I'm on Windows here, right? Occasionally you'll find files that have spaces or weird characters in them. Any character is a valid character except for null inside of a file name, and you can actually use that to great effect. And this is a little bit of a spoiler if you're going to do over the wire bandit for hackers, because they do have files that are named in there that you have a very hard time accessing and stuff because they've been named really weird. You can actually name files that have control characters in them, and sometimes you'll do it on accident. So knowing this is super important. So if you do ls, you'll see all the files there. Now, if I just wanted to list, okay, I'm going to show you your first glob thing, right? I want to list all the files that begin with new. So I list new star. Okay, now we're going to come back to globbing in general in just a bit, but this is going to list all the files with new star. And as you can see, we have the ls output is a little bit weird because it's Windows, but we can see we have new.vmk, we have new space folder, and the new line in them is fine. Yes, and writing shell scripts that deal with this is super interesting because this extra space that's here, if you don't properly put quotes around it, it can really ruin your day. It can actually make you write really insecure code that would really break something. And I have a couple stories about that I won't share right now, about very big projects that released production code that did not account for spaces. That in one case, everybody that ran the program, it had to run as root, and it destroyed an /var or some like really important directory file system. So you understanding this naming convention is these naming stuff is super important. Please don't, please don't ignore this. I mean, I know it's not really official. I don't know if we should put a thing. How do I avoid typing long, complicated names? How about safely? Okay. And I'm going to put safely in there because seriously, when we start scripting, you'll see all the possibilities of really killing things. There's a system D. Yeah, you know what one I was talking about, Gray Hatter. Good guess. So anyway, so new folder. You see, but what I want you to see right away is that you see that this on Windows, instead of it putting a slash after there, for some reason it decided to put this colon, which means it's a folder. And if you look on my system, you'll see that it's named new folder, and you'll see that this is wrapped in single quotes, which are safer than double quotes for reasons we'll get into later. They don't allow variable expansion is the short answer. So but how do I delete that guy, right? What if I just want to delete the second one, right? So the safest way, this is where batch completion comes in, is you can say. So, well, first of all, let's just list them all. So let's say I want to list new tab, 2 tabs, and then it actually lists 3 different directories. We see in bash style, it shows us one directory. It's really hard to tell where the directory ends and begins though, isn't it? Because they're all got spaces in them. Moral of the story, don't put spaces in your names. I mean, if you can help it, it's a really bad idea. And God, can you imagine if I had deleted everything that began with new? I'd be blowing away a virtual machine image that I have here, which would kill that virtual machine completely. So knowing how to isolate this is very important. Now, so the first way to do this is to type a backslash. If you type a backslash and then a space and then a tab, it'll get to the next thing. Okay, so spaces and pretty much anything can be backslash escaped from the command line, and you can just keep going about your way. You notice that parentheses is also a special character, so it is put a backslash in front. Now, the tab, if you don't want to remember all of this, though, just remember to tab complete. So I do tab twice, and I say, okay, what's the next option? Well, the next option is either 2 or 3. So if you type, so if I type a 2 and then I type a tab, it now has enough to complete the entire name. And if I just keep typing tab, it won't do anything because that's the last one. Okay, that is the magic of tab completion. Now, that is a pain in the butt to type. If I had to type that, and sometimes the names are even longer, really. I mean, sometimes you have names that have got UUIDs in them or whatever, right? And you do not want to type that. So you want to learn about tab completion. So in this case, that's new tab. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, we want all the space in it, tab. And by the way, you can't just type space here because that could be anything, right? So it has to be /space tab, tab. And it's like, oh, I want tab, tab. I want 2, tab, tab, right? And so then it just lists the 1, right? And I'm just curious to see, but I'm kind of giving you the answer. This is how you remove a directory. And somebody's going to tell you to not to use another command. And we're not even going to tell you the other command. If you're in Twitch and you know the other command and you type it, please don't. All right? People love to troll you about what command to enter, and then you go do it and you destroy your whole computer. This is the command, the proper command for removing a directory, and we're going to get to it in a bit. But so now what? Oh, wow. Well, what happened? Did it remove it? I can't tell because it's kind of quietly. I don't know. We're going to have to go check. How do I check? So ls new tab tab. Oh, look, now we just have 3 and this. So obviously is gone. And there's no undo. There's no going into the trash and getting rid of it. The reason I didn't show you removing and destructive commands yet is because I wanted to make sure you understand that in Linux, with great power comes great responsibility. And not only can you remove a single file like that and never have any hope of getting it back again, short of like going to the subsystem on disk and restoring from, you know, bits in the file system, which you can do if you're working for, you know, some sort of forensic security firm or something. I mean, you could do that, but for the most part, it's gone. I mean, that it's not zeroed out. And as a hacker, I feel the obligation to tell you that the stuff that existed inside of that file or directory is still there. It's just been removed from the file system table, so that disk space will be overwritten again. But I can actually go in there. If I had passwords in there, I can go in there and find it. Right. So so for the sake of the hackers out there, just know that removing a thing is not enough. You have to zero it out. You have to do way more than that. But for the sake of a Linux user, you understand that that's enough. Okay. ZFS rollback. Oh, I don't know if I would be okay with that. Unless it's if it's SSD, then it might be gone. Yeah, there are ways to get to it. All the hackers are having fun talking about all the ways to get to data that's been deleted, right? But most people in a class like this are not going to tell you that it still exists, right? But I am, because there are definitely ways to get that stuff back. I have done it many times. So anyway, so let's go back here. So tab completion to get it. How do you rename a file directory? We already did that 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's up to you to practice it now. So move old to the new, right? And that goes for files. That goes for files and for directories. Okay. Now there is a caveat here. In fact, I'm going to put a thing here. Yeah, I'm going to put an admonition. I'm going to say warning. So again, I'm going to put an admonition for a warning. This is not Markdown. This is make docs. Be very careful. I'm going to call this danger, actually. When moving and renaming, since you can easily clobber an existing file or directory instead of renaming. Now, this is the part where some wise guy or wise person is going to say, you really should teach him how to turn noclobber on. And I don't want to teach you to become dependent on noclobber because it's not on most systems. There is a setting in Bash where you can turn noclobber on, and in the past I've turned it on the default, and then you have to do an extra command in order to clobber existing files. It's the default in many systems, but not always. And I would rather you learn in the right way. You become like a really paranoid person as opposed to just trusting noclobber to protect you. Okay. So that's the answer if you want to know why. And let me show you what I mean by that. Okay. So if I made a new scripts directory, right? So let's take a real situation. Let's remove our directory. All right. And so there's nothing here. And let's pretend like we had started to create, I'm using commands that we already know. Echo date to the end of my scripts file. Okay, so let's say that scripts is a file that's going to be just all the commands that I need to learn or want to make, right? Maybe you saw my sunrise. Watch your eyes. Maybe you saw sunrise and you want to write your own. Maybe you saw fishies. Uh-oh. Come on, baby. There we go. Maybe you saw fishies and you want to write your own. Okay. So let's do that. Echo fishies. And we're making a list using the commands that we know right now. Why am I using 2 angle brackets instead of 1? Because I want to see what's here, right? Oops. Why is it not tabbing? Cat tab. Okay, so cat scripts. There we go. And we see fishies, date, and all that. Okay, so let's so just a very real scenario. You have got, you can do clear or C is a shortcut, and you can see we have the scripts file here, right? So let's say I didn't check, and I come in here and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Let's start writing those scripts that I had, and you forget that you had a list called scripts. Now, make directory is going to probably protect us. So, yep, there we go. Okay, so we're lucky with make directory we got protected, right? But let's say say that we already had something else. So let's say make dir scripts. Okay, so we came in, we made it scripts, and we didn't do an ls, so we don't know. I'm going to do it anyway, but let's pretend like we didn't know we had the scripts list. Right? And I say, oh, I don't want the uppercase, but you don't remember why we made it uppercase in the first place. I mean, this is very contrived, but anyway. So we want to rename it. Watch this. Oh, can't do it. Okay, that's because they're both, one's a directory, one's a file. But now let's do this. Let's make another list. Let's say touch, let's get rid of the directory first. rmdir scripts. All right, so let's say we made another list or something. How about we say this? We say touch RBX scripts, right? Now watch. I say I want to move RBX scripts to scripts. Okay, and it did it, and it did not complain. The reason I'm showing you that. Of all of the mistakes that I have made in Linux and Unix over the years, the times when I have blown something away that was substantial, particularly while I was coding in an application with multiple libraries and multiple individual files or test cases or something like that, of all of the things that I have done to blow away code that has not yet been committed, that is the number one thing, that is the number one mistake I make. And because it's very innocuous, I mean, is that the right word? It just sneaks up on you, right? Now you can set noclobber to stop that kind of thing from happening, and if you want to do that, that's fine. But it's so annoying because more usually, I mean, I do file renaming all the time because I want to make a new version of it and I want to copy over it and things like that. So it's so annoying to have to deal with noclobber turned on that I turn it off and I risk it but the way to protect yourself from that, of course, is to use git and to do git commits as you go. And we're not there yet. We're going to get there, but I want you to just see the danger of this. Okay. So if I cat scripts now, insidious, there you go. Yeah. Innocuous means not dangerous. Yeah. What does innocuous mean? We're going to learn how to search like this from the command line. Producing no injury. That's the wrong word. I meant insidious. Yeah, it's insidious because it sneaks up on you. Yeah. So I know what this means. Insidious. Yeah, I'm just showing what I don't know here. Adjective intended for entrap or beguile. Yes, insidious. It's very insidious. We're going to learn how to search for the command line. Although, there it is. Now you know how to do it. You just type a question mark and type it in. You might want to give that a try. It's kind of fun. You won't know what to do when you get there. You haven't navigated it, but we're going to get there, I promise. All right, so let's go back. I think we covered that, like probably too much, right? So be very careful when ordering them since you can easily clobber an existing file or directory. Don't bother with activating noclobber because it will get in your way more than help you. Just become aware/paranoid about the danger. Okay. And this can be really dangerous. I almost want to show you, but you can do this kind of thing and blow away your entire file system. So that is not unheard of to do that, right? So just be aware. I'm going to leave that as a single, I think. I never know whether to do that or not. I guess I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a single. All right, so we know how to move old stuff to make it new, and we're almost out of time on this first hour. So let's talk about the next stuff here. So we know how to make directories, we know how to hide files, we know how to rename stuff using move. Now we haven't got into globbing yet. How do I safely avoid typing long and complicated names? We did that. How do I move multiple files? All right, so this is the beginning of globbing, and I'm actually going to take a break really quick, and I'll come back and we'll do globbing. You can do mv-i for interactive. That's a good one. That's a good tip. Yeah. How about that? Consider mv-i as well. I'll put that little pin there. Thank you, Mossy. I do not like interactive, and I would never put an alias for that because that would screw up your scripts. So, yeah. So I am sorry. I'm going to take a break really quick here so I can go sneeze and stuff. I'll be right back. Okay, back to regularly scheduled programming. We're done with the talk about killing each other with their clickety-clack mechanical versus, silent keyboards. We have a lot of fun over here. We do. We just went through this huge debate about ergo keyboards versus clickety-clack keyboards versus laptops that can go anywhere. And I'm just going to rest my case here. If you become a master of an ergo keyboard, you can't use the computer without the ergo keyboard. Not the same fashion. You probably might be able to. So forget about taking a laptop to, I don't know, any business meeting or travel job or to the coffee shop or anything like that. So I am really, really anti specific keyboard. I'm also Gen X, which meant we grew up in a time when keyboards are, you have to go to the computer and use that keyboard. You have to share your computer with the rest of the family. And if you force them into a Dvorak keyboard or an ergo keyboard, the whole family's going to come after you. So that's my generation. The younger generations are all about flexibility and personal, I don't know, like representing themselves and their personality and their keyboards. And I'm like, still one fundamental flaw. If you do that, you have to take it with you. That means you can't work on it unless you're at it, which makes you into a shut-in. It's a joke. But at least 3 people said, yeah, I feel called out now. So I would rather have a laptop. And then I know the laptop's not optimal, but you know what? I can use it anywhere. I can code anywhere. I can code from the plane. I can code from the airport. I can code from anywhere, right? I can code from the boring party, which I've done. I've actually taken my laptop regularly. I do this all the time. We talk about white noise. I would take my laptop to like a really good band in a bar, and there would be like 50 people on a Friday night, and I would be sitting there coding away my latest creation or whatever with like a really nice IPA right there, and I would just love the white noise. Everybody was looking at me like I was crazy, and I was like loving it. I was like in the party, and I'm over in the corner, on the nice comfy couch, the vintage era couch, and this really great bar, and I'm coding away. And if I had an ergo keyboard, I could not do that. All right. Also, sound engineering. Can't do that. You can't do that, which I've done, right? You can't anyway. So not a fan of that. Oh, thank you for the raid, Het. So we were just fighting about keyboards. I'll let you guys fight about keyboards later. We before we were so rudely interrupted by me making the break, we were working on I don't know, let me remind myself what we were working on. We were like renaming things. We were talking about the multiple file stuff, and we were getting going on globbing. Okay, so let's do something fun here. Actually, do this. If you have the SKILSTAK boost image, you can do this right now. What is globbing? All right. hit enter. I'm going to kind of show you how to use this. Now, so to go down to the next, you can push space and it will page down, okay? So the first hit is in computer programming, glob pattern specifies sets of file names and wildcard characters. For example, in Unix bash shell, which is what we're talking about, the command mv.txt files moves all files with the names ending in .txt. This is taking a space out. There's supposed to be a space in there. It looks like there was a glob in it. Yeah, in fact, let's go read that. Okay, so to read it, I'm pushing J to go down and K to go up. Okay, these navigations is going to come back in later. You're going to be like, what? Okay, so now to follow the link, we're going to push L, which is right. So now we can space. I'm doing all this with one hand. On the other hand, I went and got coffee as a, So who needs social interaction? All right, so we're going to push space and we're going to go down to it. And in computer programming, glob pattern specify. Okay, look at all these fancy things. So now we can read it, right? Specifies sets of files with wildcard characters. For example, the command mv star, otherwise called splat, or asterisk, I guess, if you want, dot txt to text files moves mv. Well, there you go. That's a spoiler alert. This is how you move multiple files, right? So you use a wildcard glob. And that will move all the files that end in txt in the names of that txt. I have a quick story about this. I was teaching a mother, a home, a woman who had raised, a family for the most part, and she wanted to learn how to code, and she was getting a lot of crap from the men in her life about not being technical and not being. It was kind of a sad story actually, and she was amazing. And she was like, "No, I'm going to learn this stuff," and I showed her. She had no point of reference when it came to directories and file systems. I may have mentioned her before. And when I showed her how to take all of these files and move them all with a single command, she insisted that I derail the entire stuff that I was going to teach her and teach her everything about the command line from that point on, because it was so powerful. And sure enough, as soon as you show somebody that you can do all of these things from the command line, somebody called it magic. Even tab completion, you show tab completion to people who don't know about it and they think it's wizardry, right? And now you know the basic wizardry stuff. And moving, like, consider what it would take to do that. Let's actually do this example, okay? So this, by the way, let's just end on the thing. A glob is a thing, so this moves anything. Let's just do it really quick since we have. So this means anything, and this means exactly one of anything. All right. And that's really all you need to know for now. Now, there's a lot of wildcard matching you can do, but those are really the only two main ones you need to know about. Right. And those actually they do work on different things. So let's remove our scripts directory. Oh, you don't know about this one yet. Let me see this. Let me go through and show you this one too. How do we say remove a file? Okay, so how do I remove files? All right. How do I move multiple files? And how do I remove files? So let's go ahead and move it for now and put it out of the way. Yeah, W3M is good too, but Link still kicks its ass. It does. I'll make that case all day. There's videos on it if you want to go watch them. We're going to cover that in very extensive form. How are you going to? So let's move this. So I want to move scripts. Let's make a few files here. So first of all, we don't care. So I'm going to teach you how to remove a single file. So to remove a single file, 1, 2, there we go. I can't see because my camera's there. All right. So let's do rm file. Okay. And you can, or you could do rm, you could actually do file and then ... Now the ... when you see ... you could put file or dir. Actually, you can't do dir, but I'm not going to teach you rm-rf dir. Oops. I already did. I don't want to teach it to you yet because it's super dangerous and you shouldn't do it. All right. How do I remove files? RM file. I know I'm all over, but we're going to do it. Okay. So RM scripts tab. Okay, there was no interactive, right? Let's. Somebody mentioned interactive, and if you want to use it, that's fine. I never do, but if you do, you can do dash I scripts. It's like remove empty scripts, yes. Okay, so if you want to do that, that's fine. I think it's a waste of time, so I don't do that. I just make sure to be careful. And so here we go. I can do things with links that you can't even dream of doing, I imagine, because you've never seen it before. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just telling you the truth. I can find stuff in milliseconds. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to how to research from the command line on the internet. And people see it all the time. And I go, how the hell are you doing that fast? We're going to cover that, not today. How do I do multiple files globbing? Okay, let's see. I tell you, let's do this. Let's do this. How do I remove files? How do I move multiple files? Okay, so how do I remove a file? How about that? How do I remove a file? RM file. There. I don't want to teach you more than that right now. I don't. If you want to learn more, fine. How do you do it? If you want to learn more about the RM command, how do you do it? You already know. Tell me. How do you look up more about RMs? And Mr. Rob's like denying us our learning. No, I'm not. I'm just making you go learn it on your own so that when you screw it up, you have no one to blame but yourself. Don't do the rm-rm/. Don't do that. You just confirm that you're an idiot by putting that into beginner chat. Oh my God. We have new people in Twitch who love to think they're clever by telling you that. I am just going to tell you because some idiot troll who thinks they're funny is going to show you this command right here. And I'm actually going to do it. And I'm going to tell you why they're idiots for trying to troll you like this, because they don't even know that it doesn't work because they've never done it. They're just repeating something that somebody else has said. All right. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm sorry, but I have to do this. All right. So here I have to do this every time because we always have an idiot who wants to be cute with the beginners and show them how to kill themselves because they think it's funny and they don't have it. If somebody had done it to them, they would have cried. It's like that scene from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 where he's laughing at them after throwing the rock, ha ha ha, and he throws it back at him and it's not funny anymore. Yeah, it's not funny when it happens to you. Okay, so let's do this. Podman, we just want a temporary one, a little bit of stuff here. Podman it, right? We just want a temporary one. So we're gonna remove it and we're gonna make a ghcr.io/rbxrob/ WS SKILSTAK. So we're making a brand new one. It's not even going to have a name. Run. So I'm just making a super temporary one, and that's why I left this crazy name here because it's going to go away, right? We learn through pain. And this is, if you want to have pain, okay, so this, if you truly want to test commands that you are afraid are going to ruin the universe or break things, do this. Do podman run it rm. In fact, I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put this in here right now. Yes. How do I create a temporary container just to try dangerous, stupid things? All right. Oops. All right. So we're going to do it. Oh, God, I cannot see. I really can't. Right there, I cannot. I know you think, well, why do you have to see your type? Look, I don't edit my videos to make me look good like other streamers do. I just put up the crap where you get to see it all hang out. Podman-it, that man stands for interactive TTY, remove, and you don't need a name or anything, right? Because you're going to throw it away, so you don't care. And then you just, we've got to run it, right? ghcr.io/rbxrob/ws SKILSTAK. Okay, now you'll already have the image on your machine. So how do I create a template just to try dangerous, stupid things? And that you can try it. And then when you exit that, how do I create a temporary container sandbox, we'll say, to try dangerous, stupid things? How about that? Does that sound good? Okay, so it's worth putting it in there. This is why we do this live like this, because people have good insights. So here we go. We got one. Now that's not it, right? That is definitely not it. Now that's it. Why is that it? Because it's got this crazy number here. All right, now let's. Okay, so take very long, hard look at what host you're on. I am not going to tell you the story about how I took down the corporate mail server by not looking at what machine I was on. I actually did that in my first 3 months as a system administrator. I thought I was so cool because I had Linux on the laptop, on my desktop, right? Another stupid thing. Don't do that. I mean, I did, but you don't need it. I had Linux on my laptop. I thought it was super cool. I thought I was going home for the day. And so guess what I typed? Shut down -H now. I thought I was turning my laptop off for the day. Guess what I really turned off? Right? Now, on containers, you'd be safe from it, right? Now, you can do, I think you can do reboot if I remember. You don't know these commands yet. Permission denied. By the way, this is yet another reason that we are using a container that has a default, user, so that you have that kind of net. It's kind of a safety net, right? And I haven't showed you how to get root access to your own container yet, because I want you to learn how to do it safely before you start blowing things away, okay? So let me show you why that person who told you to do rm-rf, which is, look it up, okay? Let's read this command first of all. Most of the people that tell you to do this can't even tell you what it actually means to do it. So the -f says to force it. That means if there was a -i, it overwrites it, right? Or if there was a noclobber, also overwrites it. And then they say recursive. So that means don't only delete this directory, but delete everything under it, right? And the reason for that is this, okay? And I didn't want to teach you this, but I guess I'm teaching you it anyway. I'm going to do it. How do I remove multiple files? How do I remove a directory and everything under it recursively? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. God damn it. All right. So this is what they're trying to have you do. All right. RF directory. Dir. All right. And so this is what these people try to have you do. All right, here we go. Wait, where is it? Make sure you're on the right thing. So let's actually try this on this machine. Let's do something like really stupid. All right. First of all, let's try the command that everybody tries to tell you, and I'm going to tell you why it's so stupid that they tell you to do it. That's the command everybody says to do. Oh no, can't do it. This is what the idiot trolls who try to trick beginners don't know, because they've never actually tried it. They're just trying to be cool. So just know that you're going to be cooler than them, because you're going to tell them why it doesn't work. Okay. So rm-rf without preserve root doesn't work and hasn't worked for probably more than 10 years. So even if you did do this as root, which you're not supposed to know how to do yet, but let's say you did do it as root, sudo su dash, now I have root. What's the password? I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you your own password. It's pretty easy to guess. Shh. If you hack into your own container during the boost and you destroy everything, that's on you. That's on you. You're going to have to make a new one and start over. But that's good. It's good practice, right? So don't be afraid of it. If that's what you want to do, fine. So now I have root. So now I have root. Now I can do this crazy ass command that all the trolls try to tell you to do. Oh no, can't do it. So yeah, you just, gave a big old bird to the troll who tried to tell you to do that, because now you can say, well, you obviously have the command wrong. And if you want to be pedantic and fire back at them, which you probably shouldn't do, just walk away and knowing that they have no fucking idea what they're doing. So then you could do this. You could say, no preserve root. I mean, preserve. Let's just see what happens, by the way. You all want to see this. I know you do, even though it's taking extra time. / All right. So if someone's going to tell you this command, if you're going to try to troll somebody, then you need to make sure they put -- no preserve root in there. Well, it won't work unless they're on like an ancient AIX system or something. Right. So now watch. And they have to have root access. Uh-oh. Why is it doing stuff and not coming back? What's happening, Mr. Rob? Mr. Rob, what's happening? Uh-oh, it's not coming back. Why won't it stop? I'll tell you why. Because it's in the middle of deleting every single file on your entire computer. And now it's like, oh no, you've always wanted to see what that command does, right? It's all gone. Now, strangely, I still have a command prompt. I just can't do anything now because none of it exists. It's not there anymore. So everybody wants to know what would actually happen if you did it. There you go. Now you just tested it. Why? Because you're using containers. Look at, I'm in this nice, happy, safe container doing stuff as root, which you should never do. And now I can test stuff as root. And guess what? It doesn't matter that I don't have any. I can't even list files. By the way, does anybody know what you could do here? There's like a number of things you can't do. You know. See, I don't even think it's so there's actually, it's kind of fun actually if you want to do this. Delete everything in your container and still try to get around. The only thing you can use are bash shell built-ins, and if you exit this shell, you're done because the bash command no longer exists. So you still have one running shell. The moral of the story here is, even if you deleted your entire operating system, that one running process that you have still works. And believe me, if you make a mistake like this, you are guarding that process with your life, because it is the only way for you to restore the system. If you delete that process and it goes out of memory, which we're going to do processes tomorrow or next week or the week after that, you're done. And this is another reason to really keep a sacred connection open using something like tmux or something. So I mean, it's not there, right? I don't even have the ps command. So you don't know about this yet, but if you go into /proc, I can't even list the stuff that's here. Damn, what can I do? What can I do? How can I do this? Anyway, I have it's been a while since echo is something from bash. To keep backups, yes, people make mistakes. But we don't have any commands here. We don't even have the ls command. I'm trying to think of a thing I could do that's a built-in that would work. I'm getting distracted. Does anybody know? We should do a thing. We should do a thing with this. The hostname command isn't found. Oh, so it can't do my prompt. Yeah. Yeah, this is a challenge. I know I'm distracting. So this is fun. We'll see what would you do if you actually delete. Okay, fine. Let's go back. So that was a fun tangent. Somebody put a chapter in the video about that tangent. PS equals, yeah, but that's just for the hostname thing. We still need to figure out. There's a ton of hackers that are like, how the hell do I do this? Now, this is the first thing you need to know, okay? So exit. Now, notice how we're still on that machine. Why? Right? We don't know about this yet, but you're a user. And this is kind of relevant because we are going to be talking about users and groups. Okay, we are going to do that before we leave today. And I know we're running out of time. We only have about a half an hour left. So let's do this. So yeah, I don't, you guys got a lot of great ideas. I'm going to try to stay focused. So remember, this is a temporary container we made just for the purposes of testing out these crazy commands, right? So I'm going to type exit and boom, I'm back on my Robot TV, which is what? I type ls to say I'm on my Windows machine. By the way, don't do that command on this machine. Why? If you happen to do that command on this machine, it will happily destroy your Windows machine. You have to reinstall from scratch. So that's why they want you to do it. So absolutely make sure you know what system you're on. And if you don't, then, sucks to be you. I mean, it really sucks. You'll never forget that if you actually do it on accident, and I have. I mean, I've been around for a while, and so I've made some really doozy mistakes in my day, just because you get going fast on stuff. So that was a tangent I didn't want to do. But how do I remove everything in directory and under recursively? So we know that the RF is not going to work on really important directories, but the more important thing is, how do I remove a directory? This is what I really want you to learn. Okay, so you should. The moral of the story is this: don't use rm-rf. It's a bad idea. Most of the time, you don't need it. People are going to yell at me, but most of the time you do not need it. And they're like, why? I don't want to use rmdir. Rmdir is for wimps, right? Yeah, don't do that. That doesn't work. We already talked about this. Somebody else is trying to troll us, and we just went through a whole thing, and they just joined us, and they think they're being cute. They are like a dime a dozen on Twitch. People who think that the RM commands, and then pretty soon they'll put the when we talk about processes, they'll put the fork bomb in there, and it's not cool. It's not cool. Okay, so this is how you actually remove a directory, and why should you use that first? Why should you learn how to use rmdir? I know people love to like talk shade about rmdir, right? They do all the time. They like talk shade about rmdir all the time. It's like, oh, that's a useless command, blah, 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 blah. The reason you have to use rmdir is because rm doesn't work, right? Rm, very strictly speaking, we'll even show it to you. And now you can pretend like you know more than 90% of the Linux and Unix people out there. Because you do. Okay, RM is for removing files and directories, but as you can see, it doesn't work on a directory for good reason. Because it's dangerous, right? You may be, if you're removing a directory, you want to know what you're doing. So learn to use the specific commands. Now, this is going to remove this just fine. All right, but here's what it doesn't do. And this is super important. So let's actually make smaller names here. Foo. Let's touch a file in there. Foo some and foo other. So now we have two files, right? And by the way, if you want to see what those files are, you can just do foo like that, and it'll show you all the files that are in there. That's one of the convenient uses of find. I've also loaded tree, which does not come with it usually, which is a prettier version of just that kind of output if you want to do that. So, and you can see here that we have all that stuff. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if I try to rmdir foo now, it's not going to do it. It's like, no, you got stuff in there. Now, what is the proper way to do that? Right? Like, oh, in fact, let me give you a more realistic scenario. Okay, so you've got foo sum, and you're going to move foo sum to foo dot hidden. All right. And you'll go into foo and you'll be like, so the proper way to do this is to remove each individual file and confirm that you want to remove that file using RM. This is the right way to do this. It takes longer, but it's the right way to do it. And here's the reason. Unless you have thousands of files in there and that you're super confident could be removed, then most of the time you're going to want to individually remove or move each one of those files. And this process that I'm going through doesn't just apply to the RM command. It applies to git commits or any time that you're deleting stuff. If you want to save yourself, and they will not tell you this on the internet, all those internet streamers and everybody, they won't go through this professional workflow with you. They will give you, the command and say goodbye. But the proper thing to do here is to explicitly in your brain make sure that you're deleting the right thing as you do it, because I guarantee you're going to delete something you didn't want to delete and you won't be able to get it back unless you do this. So burn into your brain and explicitly deleting each individual file by itself up to the point where you're really, really sure. And the first time, by the way, the first time you're sure that you can just remove a whole directory, I guarantee you're going to delete something that you didn't want to remove. And you're going to be like, oh, it's not in Git. Oh my God, I am like totally dead. And we're learning how to not delete stuff. Yeah. That's what you get, Hex. Yeah. People, if you join into the middle and don't read the room, I'm going to roast you. It's just something I do. I love you. I love you. But if you jump in and start offering advice and haven't even read the room or find out what we're talking about, I'm going to roast you, because that's like, if you do that in an IRC chat, God help you. All right, so we're in here. I know people are like, God, this guy's mean. So there you go. ls-a, we see there's a hidden file, right? So if I come out here and I do rm, right, rm foo, it's going to like, nope, that's a directory. Oh yeah, it's rmdir foo. So we do that. I was like, it's not empty. Bullshit, it totally is empty. Look, ls foo, there's nothing there. ls-a foo. Oh, there's a file still there. Anyway, let's do this. Let's do rm foo/.hidden, and we're gonna, do that, right? So now can I do it? ls foo, ls-a foo. We could do find foo. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there's anything in there. Let's try it again. Foo. All right, now you know how to do it. It's gone. Okay. That has been a rant about why you should do rmdir instead of rm-rf, like lazy assholes who end up deleting stuff they didn't want to remove, including me. So don't do it. Just use rmdir. It's annoying. I know it's annoying. Just learn to do it. Okay. It's the same reason you should learn to do touch for make new files, so that you can make sure you're in the right place before you open up VI, write 20 lines of code and can't save it because you're in the wrong place and you don't know how to write it to temp foo temporarily and then move it to where you want. There are certain things that I'm going to tell you to do that are going to save you heartache later, even though they don't make any sense and are not technically required. And that's one of them. Okay. So how do I remove a directory? rmdir, right? So I'm going to put a thing here. I'm going to put an admonition here. Okay. This is admonition. Note. Should we put a note? Let's do a note. This is not markdown. This is make doc stuff. We're going to put a note here. Let's say, prefer rmdir over alternatives to force yourself to be sure of each individual thing that is being deleted within that directory, since rmdir will not remove directories within them. What's a hidden directory that most commonly will stop a directory from being removed? I'll tell you one. .git. .git is a hidden directory that's used by Git. When we get to Git process management, you'll see it. And that's one that regularly, I'll think that I'm cleaning out a repo and that it doesn't have anything in it, but I want to keep the repo history and I want to delete it or something. And there's still a .git directory in there that you definitely don't want to delete that. You better know what you're doing with that one. All right. So how do I remove directory without removing it really recursively? If you really do, I'm going to put another note here. Danger. So even though, wait, all right. So even though this command does not work on significant system directories like / it is very recursively destructive and should almost never be used. Use rmdir instead. And everyone's going to tell me that I'm full of it and they're going to do it anyway. Well, now you've been warned. You do it, it's at your own risk. And I told you why. Okay. And I'm not going to judge you if you do it until you delete everything. And then I'm just going to laugh. All right. So how much time we got? We got about a half an hour. That's fun. Okay. Okay. So .git. How many times have you deleted .git? Somebody actually admitted to having deleted their .git directory on accident because they used rm-rf, which would be me. I'm just telling you, just do it. All right. So anyway, this is why people who have actual work experience, as opposed to media marketing degrees, should be making more videos. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm pointing at you. If you are a professional Linux or Unix user, start making YouTube videos in your underwear / pajamas like me. Because we need to hear from you. We don't need to hear from yet another person who wants to spend, 2 hours making a video and 0 time actually learning how to do this stuff in the video. Sorry, that was harsh. That was really harsh and also true. So always push as soon as you're done. Oh my God, how many times have you done that? You're just deleting stuff around and you're on autopilot and you do git push and now you've committed into your commit tree. This is why commit to main is disabled and why the PRs are a mandatory process in all Git now these days. Because once people get used to all these processes, they end up, not only do they end up deleting stuff, but then they commit it to the source tree. and then stuff happens, bad things happen. Okay. So let's talk about users and permissions. Or you have ZFS file system. Yeah. No. Live through that. Live through ButterFS and all the others. All the other attempts to make it good. The proper way to make it good is to not be dumb in the first place. And I'm talking to me by save yourself from yourself. All right. So let's do this. Let's do the next one. So let's talk about we've already done root and user group permission. So I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour of this. Thank you for the sub. We're going to go through this. Okay. So up until now, officially, you don't know that you have another user on the system. Okay. So this is going to be very hard for me, and I want the people in the chat to help me keep it simple. It's very hard because we have a lot of veterans in the chat who will throw in extra extraneous information. It's just going to confuse beginners. But I want you to pretend like you're talking to someone who's never used the command line before, who doesn't even know what a user is, who's regularly on Mac or Windows and doesn't even know that there are different users. They just get onto the system and they log in as they click on a button and they start using the system. That's the target user that we have in mind when we're talking about this stuff. So I'm going to say things that are going to be very simplified, and they're going to not be complete, and they're not going to be comprehensive and stuff deliberately, because that's who I'm speaking to. And if that's you, put your ears on and listen. If it's not you and you're one of these pedantic, veterans who wants to set me straight, just put that aside for a second, okay? Because we're going to be talking to the absolute beginners. The absolute beginners, all they know is that they've got a user account and they're on here. Now, we've talked about what the prompt is before. We'll just review. So this is the name of the user. In this case, the name of the user on our default container is user, right? And then we have an @ sign, which is just a tradition that separates the user from the name of the machine that they're on. This is the host name of the machine. This is not really a machine, but that is technically the host name. And if you're wondering why that looks like an email address, it's because that's where email addresses came from. In fact, on multiple user systems in the early college days or DARPA days, you would have multiple machines and they would have different, extensions on the end here, .edu, .com or something. And this right here referred to the different machines. So you could be referring to a user on a separate machine. And you could, believe it or not, you could send chat back in 1979 or 82 or something like that. I mean, chat's been around way, way, way longer than people consider. Then we have here, this is like the end of the prompt and it tells you where you're at. The current prompt that I have only tells you the active current directory you're in, and tilde means that I'm in the home directory. And we already know about this from PWD, that I am in the user home directory. Now, you probably already know PWD. If you want to do something fun, you can come up here and do an ls, and you can see that ls-al, you can see, okay, I've got nothing in here except for the user directory, right? So there's only one. Now, a user on a system, so back in the old days, used to have lots of users. And if you ever use anything for hacking in Carnegie Mellon or these multi-user systems on Bandit or something over the wire, you'll be able to see a multi-user system. We are not going to go into detail about multi-user systems beyond about 5 minutes of explanation about what that means. Because as a user, you usually don't care, right? The only reason you do care is for the sake of your own safety if you're on a multi-user system, which we're not for the boost. So we're not going to go into deep stuff there, but it's essential that you understand it in order to see these things here. And then you can learn about, how to manage users and how to create new users and how to own other users elsewhere. We're not going to be covering that in the boost. I do talk about it on Twitch every Christmas. I've been doing the Bandit and showing people how to hack different user accounts. But that's not going to be part of the boost. It's hard for me not to do it. So these user accounts, as you can see, generally get a home directory. Okay. And the home directory is copied from something called SKIL. And another thing we're not going to cover officially, like, why didn't it read everything? Let's do -D. Okay. Let's do -LD. All right. So SKIL is where contains all of the stuff that any new user gets on the system. Okay, that's system administration knowledge for the most part, but that helps you understand where all of these files come from. Now, the main reason I'm telling you this is that if you accidentally delete any of these files on the container, obviously you can start a new container. But if you have screwed up one of these files, you can go get a fresh copy. right? So let's do it, shall we? So like let's delete a file. So in fact, I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put a thing in here. It's like, how do I let's see, how do I recover a broken a how do we say this, broken or deleted configuration file? Okay, so the answer to this for you is that you can go into Etsy Scale. So let's say, I mean, we're going to go into all of these files in detail and we're going to explain everything that's in them, but I'm going to tell you right away, now that we know about move, how you can fix that. Okay, so let's say, let's delete one that you know what, let's do this safely. Let's do this safely. Let's do our other thing that we learned, which is to make a temporary container, and then we're really going to beat that thing up. Okay, so let's do that. That's safer. It's more safe. In fact, I have it in my history. Let's push it up there. Let's go run another one. So again, the --rm makes it temporary, and we know this is a temporary container because of this here, right? So now we have a temporary container with this, cool prompt and everything. And let's just rip it to shreds, shall we? All right, so remember, I'm on the right container. Now, let's see what happens if I delete the directory. How about we delete the input RC? No, let's just randomly delete stuff. Let's delete bash. We're going to learn about them, but let's do it. So rm-bashrc. Now, believe it or not, that doesn't affect us. Why? Because we haven't started up a new shell, right? And the important thing about this is that when you delete things, they don't affect you until you try to log back in. But in this temporary container, there is no logging back into it, right? So one of the ways to start, this is kind of early to do this, but it's like, how do I start a new shell and replace the currently running one? This is not something I was going to cover yet, and I'm just going to do it anyway. I don't care. This is how I am. I'm very, out there. So you're going to do exec bash-l. Do not forget the -l. All right. So that gives you a new shell. So we need to know that, because if we're going to delete, so we have this new shell, right? But well, let's pretend like we're logging in. Exec bash-l, and it's still, actually, no, it's still using the old one. It's still using the old one, right? That's not going to work. We need to break something more. All right. Oh wait, I'm on SKILSTAK. Oh, see, I just did the thing I told you I wasn't going to do. Thank God I didn't remove anything. I do not want to be a poster child for this. All right, so yeah, okay, I almost did it. I almost deleted it in my SKILSTAK image. That would have sucked. Yeah, no. Do not source. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do exec bash-l. No, because all that does is add it to the existing one. There we go. All right. So, and the reason you need to do that, because so that's what happens if your file goes away. All right. So look what I have here. I have no colors. Where did my colors go? Now, the reason you don't have any colors is you just deleted your configuration file. And, but, so remember that user stuff? So let's actually restore it. Now, I don't think, have we learned how to copy? Please tell me we learned how to copy files. Did we not learn how to copy files last week? I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. If you don't like this, there's other places you can learn it. Oh, wait, there's not. I thought we did copy already. I guess not. All right. Well, we'll manipulate all of this into one file later. But so, okay. So I guess we're going to have to put it in here. How do I copy a file? Okay. So we're going to use copy. I could have swore we did that. File to new name. Or you can also copy it, new name or directory. It's the same thing with move that we didn't do. I'm gonna we don't know about copy. We also don't know about globbing yet because I'm all over the place. and we're running out of time. All right, so let's do this. So not this one. We want this guy. Okay, so pwd, make sure we're in the right place. Home user, right? So we're going to copy etc skill .bash rc to dot. Now, what is dot? You guys remember? You need to use the dash L. Yeah. Dash L creates a login shell. And it's a much faster way to get everything. And especially if your bash RC resets all the environment variables and aliases like mine does. Yeah. So yeah, the dot means the current directory. So now we got it. And it's like, but Mr. Rob, it didn't fix it. And my thing is still broke. Exec bash dash L. Boom. Yay. We're all good. We're good to go. Why? Because we restored a file that was in etc scale back. Okay. So that's not something that most people are going to cover, but it's a good way to know that if you want to know what the default is on a system, you can go in there and look at it. Now, as I said, we're going to go in here and look at all this stuff, right? And there's other things you can break in here that might have different effect, like dir colors, and then exec bash dash L, that'll reload it. And you don't see that until you try to list things. So if you try to do -al r / or something, so you see the colors are a little bit different. They're not too bad. But if you wanted to put the integer colors in there, you can copy etc scale dir colors into current. So I don't even know if it's going to change the colors. Some of them, because there's already a default, so that might not change it. Oh, it did. You see, it did. It changed the colors slightly, not a lot, but it did definitely change the colors. Now, what happens when I exit the shell? My container goes poof, right? Because that's why we left the name a temporary name, because we are just using that to practice destructive things. It's the reason we learned about containers. That little thing where you spin up a temporary container to try things out, trying to do that with a virtual machine is possible, but it takes phenomenally longer to do that. You'd have to wait around for the new thing. You could take a snapshot and make a copy of it. It's extremely complicated. So just a note there that the reason that we're using containers for this kind of level of learning is because of that. Because it's so easy to fire up a new one and try different things out, and even try different distros out, right? Linux distributions. And that is not as easy with virtual machines. Virtual machines are powerful, and there's lots of reasons to use them, but they're a little bit too heavy for this. So this is why we're using containers this year and every year from now on. And okay, so by the way, for example, people are mentioning Z shell. If you wanted to practice Z shell and install it in a container, that's something you can do. Okay, but right now we're learning Bash, which is the standard shell on the most important Linux distributions on planet Earth, Ubuntu and Red Hat. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Those are the only two distributions you need to care about as a beginner, because those are the number 1 and 2 distributions used by the enterprise for actual jobs. Everything else is cool and fine and fun to play with, but irrelevant when it comes to getting a job in the enterprise. So anyway, how do I search it from within a file command line? Let's go back to globbing though before we keep doing this. True but sad. There's a lot of people that don't like that that's true. And just to be fair, there was a time when you couldn't use Linux without getting fired. So times have changed. Who knows? Maybe sometime your favorite Linux distro will be in the enterprise, but not today. So how do I create a new directory? We did that. We were going to get back to globbing. So let's get back. How do I create a new temporary sandbox? We did that. How do I move multiple files? What's globbing? Okay, so we started removing files so we could move them. Let's go back to that particular point. All right, so we're back in home user. Well, we were talking about different users. I feel bad because I kind of split the topic here. I tell you what, let's go back to globbing really quickly. I did cover it quickly, but I want to re-hit it, and then we'll come back to the user thing, okay? So let's go back. Now, notice I just put CD enter. There's at least one advanced person out there who's been doing CD tilde their whole life, and today they just learned they can do CD enter, and it does the same thing every time on every version of Unix and Linux. I didn't learn that till I was 40-something. I've been typing that extra tilde every time. All the total milliseconds I've lost doing that. So, yeah, CD with no arguments takes you back home every time. Don't bother typing the tilde. It's too hard to type anyway. Anyway, so CD-2, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's people who have been doing stuff for a long time. This is why we do this. I've learned so much from others, and we got a lot of little tricks here up our sleeve too. I'll show you later. We should just cd dollar home. Yeah, no. Okay, so here we go. We got a user. We're back in our directory, and let's talk about moving multiple files. Okay, so let's say that we made a couple scripts. In fact, let's actually write some scripts to give you kind of some stuff to look forward to. And we're going to write our scripts entirely from the command line. Yeah, we're going to write our scripts. These are going to be shell scripts, right? We're going to echo hello world to we're going to say hello. How about this? Let's say hello. How about that? And then we're going to write another script from the command line. World. Say world. All right. LSL, we got our scripts. Now, this is the part where you don't know yet, but we're going to learn it later. So we need to turn them into scripts or not right now. So chmod plus X is the only chmod command you ever need to know as a beginner for now. And then we're going to do chmod plus X world. I could have done that, in one command. In fact, I could have done it like this. Yeah. And be very careful with that, because what happens if something else is in there? So that's our glob. We already starting to use our glob stuff, right? Now we can actually run them. Say hello. Uh-oh, it's not running. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm getting ahead of ourselves. You need to do / to say I want to run it right here, right? And I can do this. I'm going to say / say world. And we could do this. This is really weird. It only does the first one. What? Yeah. So the whole point of that, though, was what? We want to make it so that we need a directory called scripts, right? Make directory scripts. Oops. And we're going to move them in there. All right. So, and okay. So the advanced people are having fun in the chat. So, oh man, how do I get those two files into the scripts directory? Now I could drag it and drop them with my desktop, right? No, don't do that. So we're going to use our move command. Now you'll remember we use the move command to rename a file. Like Mr. Rob, it's MV. Why doesn't it rename? There's no rename. In fact, I don't even think there is a command called rename. There isn't, right? So move is the rename command. And a lot of these commands, by the way, are the same on Windows, not all. So if you do move, if you say, I want to move say, I want to do it the long way to find a way, say hello tab, scripts tab, right? And then if I really lazy, I push the up arrow and say, I go back here with my arrow keys and I say tab again and I get world, and now they're both there. That didn't take too long, but there's actually a faster way to do that, right? So I'm going to move everything in scripts here. What is dot? Dot is the current directory. All right, so now it's all here again, right? And you don't believe me? Let's do this. Let's do tree. All right, there's all our files. Let's do tree. So there's our, it has our hidden files too, but whatever. So they're there. Okay, so what if I do want to do both of those in one command? So we're going to use our globs, right? Our wildcards. So say star scripts. And not too complicated. Doesn't tell you anything. Now, by the way, what if there was already something there? Yeah, let's do that. All right, so let's do that. Let's make a new one. So echo hello world to say world. All right, so now we have a new file. Plus X say world. So we make it so we can run it. Command not found. Oh. Uh-oh. Shh, pretend you don't know this yet. All right, there. Okay, so there we go. Say world, right? Hello world. All right, so now watch. Move say world. What's going to happen? What is going to happen, people? What's going to happen? I want you to see this because you will do this. Very happily, it just overrode it. Now, maybe I wanted to do that. Maybe I will have a new version. And I was like, oh, I just want to put that version in place of the other one, which is usually the case in my case. But sometimes it's not. And sometimes you forget that you named it the same thing. So now when I try to run my scripts / say world, hello world, we get the other one. You never forgive yourself for not knowing that. Well, about CD path, yeah, CD path is amazing. We're going to talk about that later, but when we go through configuration. So this everybody should know, right? So that's it. All right. Now, what if I don't I don't know if I do. So let's try some new things. Okay. So let's try. I mean, I don't know. Let's say date. Let's say we want to put the date. I'm just having fun here. I'm trying to think of one that we could do. Invalidate. You don't know date yet, so I'm just trying to make up something. Oh, is it dash D? No, it's not. It's format. Is it ISO format? Anyway, the date's a fun command. You can do lots of cool things with it. And yeah, so here's the date command, right? So you can put this, different cool things in here. What I was trying to do is trying to make a script. So let's make two scripts. Touch. I don't know. I'm trying to think of two. M and two. Tom and Tom. Tom. This is how you know it's not scripted. I did not prepare for this. All right, so let's say I want to make those. I don't even know what those are. Those are scripts that we want to have go into the scripts directory. They're not really. So let's say I want to let's say the classic Tom and Tom. So how do I make both of them executables at the same time? Chmod plus X. You don't know that, but if that was a command, I'd do what? TT, right? All right. So it's like, I could just do that, right? Magical. Now they don't have anything in them. You can actually run them. They're valid scripts. They just don't do anything. And you see I changed them both at the same time, right? Let's say I wanted to change only the one. I only want to delete the one that's got the extra L in it. And let's say Tom to top them, right? So let's say I want to change only the ones that have 4 characters, right? So, or I want to remove them, right? So remove, and by the way, another secret. I'm going to put a secret here. Let's say remove a file. I'm going to put a secret here. Tip. When working with destructive commands that operate on many files, try ls first to make sure it only affects the files you want. Another thing they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you this. They don't tell you all the ways to avoid getting really screwed up. But you now know. So how would I do that? So I would do ls. Okay, I think that I want to do this. All right. Is that it? Yeah. Right. And if I wanted to see them all on the same line, I could do a -1. And like doing a select before an update in SQL. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just a good practice to get into. Whether it's operating from the command line or using SQL databases, the idea of seeing what's going to be matched first instead of just trusting yourself is a really good habit to get into. So TOPM, I mean, these are the things that are going to keep you employed. Okay. The skills will get you the job, but the checking yourself stuff skills is what's going to have you keep the job. So there you go. Now you know that it's going to delete those two. I regularly do this when I'm doing a find command, and you don't know this yet, or for commands, do echo I done. This concept of seeing what it's going to do first is very, very common, right? So if I were going to do some complicated thing, and I actually sometimes will do an echo of the command that I'm actually going to remove. If I wanted to do some, complicated command to everything, I'll just, see what the output would be first. And something that's cool about this is that I could actually just remove then it'll do it. Now, you don't know for loops yet. We're going to learn that. We're going to be the one-line for loop master of the universe before the end of this boost. And that is the true magic. As soon as you start seeing for loops and stuff like that on the command line, that's when you really, really, really start to leverage the command line. All right, so in recent enhanced commands. All right, so let's go ahead. So we already know our ls. So I can go back up in my history. And I'm just going to, you don't know about it yet. So we'll do VI mode later. I'm going up to see here. Okay, so that command I know it was safe. I can change the ls to an rm, and that will remove those two files and then do an ls to confirm. And those files are now gone. Okay, so with regard to globbing, the only thing you need to know is the wildcard, which is the star, and the single wildcard, which is a question mark. And we have, somebody's already said, how many times do we have to go through this? Yet another noob has put sudo rm-rf/etsy in the chat. I'm telling you, the noobs are out in force today on Twitch. They really are. It's so funny. They come in, they don't even read the room. They don't know we covered it already. And then they think they're cute. They think they're so funny. You know that won't work, right? And if you really care, go back and watch the video where I made fun of the last person who suggested that. You've done slash in a real server. Yeah. Well, most servers won't let you do it. And I already did a whole video about that. So go back and watch that if you care. You have lots of people just joining us. Yeah. There are lots of them, I'm telling you. They come out in force. They'll think they're so cute. They do. They think they're so funny. They're like the kids in Minecraft who like destroy all your stuff and run away. Until someone does it to them, and then they're not happy. Anyway, so back to stuff that matters. So that's how you remove a file. We did the complicated names thing. We did how to rename a file directory, move this to, so one of the things to know about move. Okay. So I'm going to put this in here. How do I move multiple files into a single directory? This is a different use case from just renaming a file. So I'm going to make a thing for that. And so many people think this is super remedial, and I apologize, but they need to learn it this way. Okay, so we're going to do sh here, and now we're going to move those files. So you want to move, a glob, or, you could do like a file or directory, right? So it's a file or a directory. I'm doing man page style stuff. So this means one or more files or directories into a directory. All right. So the way that I'm drawing that, I want you to look it up, because when you look at man and v, you'll see they just put a bunch of options here, and see the ... that means you have multiple options. The source, see how it says source ... So we could write it that way. Let's actually write it that way. Yeah, let's write it that way. That's a little bit better. So let's do move. Wait, did I kill my move? I did. I'm on 4. Okay, here we go. So let's say move source at one or more sources into the directory. Okay. And between cd / oh yeah, that's a huge big one. So there we go. Moves into a single directory. So yeah, so let's say we wanted to make a new directory. We got our scripts directory, got multiple files in there. We'll move our Tom, and we want to move those files into a new directory, right? And we can do that. Yeah, yes. Read man pages. That was good knowledge. Yeah. Okay. Make directory, new scripts. Okay, so now we have two directories. If we don't have the color, we can look, Actually, if you don't want to see all that crap, you can do ls-al star scripts, right? And now, if you want to get rid of well, that's good enough. So you can see that there actually that put all the stuff inside of the scripts. If you put a D, it'll just show you the scripts themselves. You can read all about that in man-ls. And so that is rather than showing you the content of it. When you list a directory, by default, it'll show you the content of the directory as opposed to the directory perms itself, which is why I put a D in there. And I should probably put that into the, I know it's taking me a long time. So how do I list properties of a directory instead of content? All right, let's do that. sh, and we'll do ls-a ld, and then the directory name. Okay. So that was a fast one. Again, this recipe approach is going to be easier in your search results to find, etc. All right, so let's keep going back. Yeah. And let's go. So let's go here, and we've got scripts. So again, the goal is to move everything in scripts, ls scripts, into new scripts, and we don't have anything in there. So we're going to use our glob. Now, some of you know how to do this already, right? Yeah, this is going on YouTube, of course. Yeah, we'll start with week 0. Actually, if you want to get started right away and you want to skip everything, do the quick start and then come join us. So we're going to move everything in scripts. So check yourself. What am I going to put right here? Star, right? Move everything in scripts into everything into new scripts. Now, could I have written this out individually? Yes. Say I could do this too, right? If I just wanted to move all the stuff that has say in it, I could do it that way, right? But if I want everything in there, I do star, and then it's going to move it into there. Now, when we do ls scripts and we do ls new scripts, we see that they're flipped, right? You can do the same thing in reverse if you want. And that's, that's it. Now let's actually complicate things, right? So let's put Tom in there. Let's put a foo in there, all right? Or more importantly, here's a really big one. Oh my God, this is going to be a fun one. Recursive bash. We're not going to use star. No, we're not going to learn star in the boost. No, too dangerous. Yeah, no, not Tom. I know. So let's do this. This is very common. Okay, so let's say let's reset. So let's put new scripts, okay, into the scripts directory. I cannot tell you how many times I've done this. This is a very common way to blow away a Git repo. Okay, so let's pretend that the scripts directory is under Git management. That means it has a directory in it called scripts.git. Very important directory. Very important directory. All right. It doesn't have anything in it right now. Okay. So let's put something in there just for fun. So you get very important. I'm important. I am important. Okay. Nothing there, but just so you get the point, right? Find dot. Oh gosh. Let's do find scripts. Actually, let's do find star scripts. Is that going to work? Let's do find dash name scripts. Hey, you don't know this yet. Okay, anyway. So I'm trying to make it easy. ls scripts. Oh, okay. So this is perfect. This is perfect. Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the scenario, right? You are making a new Git repo. You want it to be a nice, clean Git repo, and you want to take the files from the one repo and put it into a new one. All right. And so you have these two directories that have a Git repo in them. Make directory. I thought we were going to get to that today, and I guess not. So new scripts.git. Yeah. And we're going to do new scripts.git. Don't delete. Very important. Okay, so I'm going to show you. All right. So, yeah. Yes. Okay, that's what I'm trying to show you. Okay, so you think you're like nice and safe here, right? So ls scripts, and you forgot to do an ls-al scripts, which would show you that you have other files in there, right? And you do ls-al new scripts. There's your new scripts. There's nothing there, right? So the first thing to take away from this is, when in doubt, be more precise, right? And also use the ls thing to test things out. So in this case, what would be better? I mean, right off the bat, scripts say star. We know we want those two specific scripts, and we want them in our new scripts. That will work. I don't need to tell you that. You already know it, right? That is not going to grab.get. But let's say you're lazy and you just do this, right? And you do NuGet, and I want you to see this, new scripts. And get directory is not empty. So we got saved a little bit, thank God. Thank God, if you had a -f in there, it would not do that, would not be happy. It's like, wait, the .get directory is not empty. I don't want to overlap it, right? It's like, oh, shoot. Okay, I'm not supposed to do that. I don't, let's try with the -f. I don't even want to show you this, but I think it will still do it. No? Thank God. Okay, good. Well, that's good. But it is very common to do that. So, but more likely what would happen would be something like this. Let's say that in the new scripts directory, you haven't made it a Git repo yet. All right. So we're going to deliberately delete that directory, and we're going to do it the right way. If I try to remove Git, what's going to happen? Nope, can't do it yet. So let's, this would be one of those cases where remove-rf would work. That's super dangerous though. So let's do this. Let's remove new scripts, .git, don't delete. Oh no, I just deleted it. Now I can do an rmdir on .git and I'm safe. But now watch our move command. Remember that move command we had? Now, yes, there is. It's called noclobber, but we are not going to use it because it's not on everything, and you shouldn't become trustworthy of it, in my opinion. So, so we're going to try to move that, do the same thing we did before, right? Okay, what I just did, I cannot tell you how many times I've done this. I cannot tell you how many times I've done this. I'm sort of embarrassed. It's like, oh, hey, it worked, right? It didn't work. It worked, but it worked a little too good, right? Why did it work too good? Right? And so you might come in here and do something like this, right? So then you come here. This is a very common mistake beginners make all the time. So you go into new scripts, right? This is going to be your new repo, and you try to go make a new Git where you don't know how to do this yet, but you get in it, and it's like, sorry, initialize Git repository in new scripts.git, right? And then you go back into your old scripts directory, which you think is still a repo, right? And you do git status, and it's like, there's no Git repo, and you're like, what did I do? What you did is you used the star, which matched the hidden.git repo, and now it's been moved, and now you just blew it away. Now, thankfully, you can restore it, but if you haven't committed and pushed anything. So the point of this is be super careful with what you're going to move over there, right? And one of the reasons to have Git under Git management, I'm kind of doing this on purpose because when we get to the Git management, that's one of the surefire ways to see if you've done something wrong. And what I mean by that is this. So like if we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but so this is in a Git repo, right? And ls-l, this is actually the website we're working on, and it has a .pages. There's no .git there. But if you go up high enough, you'll see the .git repo. And the point I'm trying to say about this, sometimes you want to know if you've actually changed anything. So it's just kind of a backup. So you do git status, and that will show me every single file that's been modified, when it was modified. And if I wanted to see the differences, I would do git diff. And that would show me exactly what was changed in every file. Everything you do should be managed with Git. So we still need to learn how to edit files and stuff, but I just want to take a moment to tell you that that's why, because that will save you from the kind of disaster which I just created by removing those files, right? Because we just moved that Git file away, and since I did under new scripts, ironically, you'll still see that inside of here is now very important is the file that we created, and there's all these extra files that Git made for us, which you don't need to understand right now, but you just need to know that they're there. Okay. The religion belong to, yes. the Git religion. I mean, it's got its quirks, but it's there for us to use. So that was kind of a long-winded way of showing you some of the ways to move things around. That was specifically to answer the the stuff about. Whoops, I need to exit this. That was specifically to show you about this. How do I move multiple files into a single directory? That is how you do it. Now, where it says source, you could do, instead of source, you could do, by source, the source can be either a path, a name, or a glob. Okay. So, we should probably put that there. Can be a file, directory, path, or path to, or a glob. Okay, that's the only thing to take away from that. And I think we're almost done. We're past time for sure. So we are not going to make it to manipulating files. We did move. How do I move multiple files? We did that. Yes, we did. Yeah, we did that one. Okay, what else we got? So I think we're going to be done today. That's a lot for you to do. I covered a bunch of the removing stuff is super scary. That's why I wanted to go through it. What is the minimum I need about user permissions to be productive? I think we're going to start that next week. It's 1:19, so we are past time. Are we not? Yeah, I think we're past time now. So I need to. We did take a pretty big break. We learned how to delete a broken configuration file. Let's change the whole permissions thing for next week. I know you want to do more. I know you do, but I feel like it's probably good for you to do a little bit at a time. And so we copy a file from the directory and copy it from etc. Yeah. So you can copy etc. file to tilde if you want to, or to wherever your home is. And how do I start a new shell or replace the current one? We did that. How do I copy a file that we didn't do before? And how do I switch file? So I think we're going to have to go ahead and, we learned about copying, right? Copy a file to a new name. It goes without saying that you can actually recursively copy. So let's do that. Let's do that and we'll be good. How do I recursively copy a directory and subdirectories into another? So let's do this recursive copy and we'll be done for today, and then that's a nice happy place to leave. And if there's any things, oh god damn it, I don't know why I've been typing that today. It's just user error. All right, so for this you're going to say source, and you can do that same as before, and that it's either lowercase r or capital R. I always have to look it up. I don't even like to do this because, in fact, I'm going to put a note here. I'm going to put a note here. So, note. So the main takeaway from this is that this is not what you think. Okay, so why is it doing that? All right, so this creates new files with new creation dates, times, and ownership if copying from another user. So this is super important. So if you're trying to make a backup, this is not a backup. There is -a. -a is the archive. So, but that, I don't know if we want to, I don't think, let's actually find out. Is copy -a POSIX? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't think the dash A is POSIX. And let's see, POSIX their specifications. Part of the noclobber preserve follows the characteristic source path. Anyway, you guys can look up the copy command. The R, the capital R, lowercase r, is recursively copies directories. There are other ways to do this in Linux using 2 stars if you know how to do that. But for right now, we want to stick with the. This is the thing with Linux is sometimes there's multiple ways to do it, and you have to find the one that's going to work not only for Linux but also Unix. So you can learn just the one thing and have it work everywhere. I tend to use -R or capital R, but as you can see, they both work in different places. So we are actually going to do a little experiment here, and I want to go test something new. Yeah, POSIX doesn't have -A. We're going to actually use a very, for the sake of experimentation, we are going to run a BusyBox, an Alpine, which is using BusyBox temporary. We're going to use a container, and we're going to go test what Alpine. Alpine does not use bash as a shell. It uses POSIX, which is kind of nice because as a Unix distribution, container, I would call Alpine probably the 3rd most popular containerized distribution. And why do you care? Well, because it's a good way to test whether you should learn something and how you should learn it. Because if it doesn't exist on Alpine, there's a good chance you want to learn a different way that will work on Alpine and BSD and Unix and everything else, right? And that's, we haven't gotten into POSIX and Linux and Unix history yet, really, but the point is you only want to learn it once, and a lot of times the best way to learn it is to learn the way that works on all Unix variations as opposed to just one, and that's why I'm kind of pausing here. So we're actually going to go test this. Now you know how to do all the cool stuff to test something temporarily, right? Run it, and we're going to say -rm because we don't want the container to hang around later. And we're just going to run Alpine. Now, Alpine is a standard distro, which means it's hosted on Docker Hub, which means you don't have to type all the extra crap. And I already had the image downloaded, so I didn't have to download it. And as you can see, I have, this is Linux, but it's Linux modeled after BSD Unix, which has no GPLv3 in it, by the way. One of the reasons I really love it. And you can see there's a bunch of stuff here, but the thing that we care about is the copy command. Now, there are no man pages here because this is a very minimal thing. Is there a -H? Okay, yeah. So as you can see, copy is just a rename. It's a multi-call binary for BusyBox. They're all the same single binary executable file. You probably don't care, but that's important because that just means that depending on how that file's been renamed or relinked, it does something different. It's a pretty cool thing that is used to save on space. BusyBox was made back in the days when all of Linux, or BusyBox was the first Unix distribution to fit on a single floppy disk, and to that, I don't expect they were ever anticipating the success that it has in 2023 because it's so small, but that makes it very great for making really tiny containers that feel like Unix or Linux but don't really have Unix or Linux, and that's what BusyBox is, and Alpine. So the reason we're here though is we want to see whether we should use -R or -A or -P. Okay, so as you can see, all of these are supported in BusyBox, in the latest version of BusyBox. That does not mean they are POSIX compliant though. Yes, there is no bash shell. Of course there's not. There's only a shell. Yes. So, but that's why we're here, is we want to see if that command is the same. So here we see that DPR recursive, preserve permissions, and preserve symlinks. You don't know that, but so this really was supposed to be just a really tiny little call out to why you should, not necessarily depend on things. This creates new files with creation dates and ownership. If copying with new creation, I'm going to just put use other copy argument options when preserving them is important. I'm just going to put a note here. Okay. Because again, you're a beginner. You really don't care. I feel bad that we've already gone so far. I've been on Discord for a long time. Yeah. So how do I recursively copy a subdirectory? So you can recursively copy the source. Again, the source can be a thing. And then you need to put a directory. Now, this is another way you can really seriously delete things. In fact, because it will copy it all over onto the top of that other thing, whatever you're copying onto, right? So, just put a directory here, right? Make sure it's a directory. Another thing that I've done with the mv command before is having a whole bunch of things that you want to move into a directory. So let's do that. Let's do this one. How do I recover a broken deleted config file? We did that. Where's the move multiple things? Where's the move multiple things? Move directory to a source. Okay, so let me show you another one. Another danger here. This is why it's taking so long. Danger. When moving multiple sources, make sure that dir is a directory and not a file. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people be burned by this. All right. So same goes with copy, but not as much. So here we go. Yeah, we're going to go to, let's do the copy. So let's say I want to copy all of those files and scripts. Are they there still? Or are they new scripts? Okay, we want to copy them. So copy new scripts, right? And we only want to copy the say stuff. And then we want to copy that into scripts, right? And that did it, right? Because it was just the top level stuff. It did not copy an entire directory. But let's say I want to copy the whole directory. Copy new scripts to more scripts. Copy -r not specified, omitting directory new scripts. So there it goes. It helps you out. And you can do the -r or the -R to do that, right? And now ls more scripts, and you'll see everything is there. ls-al more scripts, and you'll see that it also got the .git directory, which it did not do in the first one, right? So, but I want you to notice that these are now, they got new timestamps on them, stuff like that. And we'll go into that when we get into Shemad a little bit later. But so that's all the stuff that got moved. What I was going to say before, let me see if I can show you this. Okay, so, but now let's do the same thing with the move command. Okay, let me remind you of another way to really screw up your day. Okay, and I've done this with SSH actually, because SSH uses the same idea of copying to a thing, and if you forget the colon in a SSH command, it will actually just make a copy of the thing instead of actually copying the whole recursive directory. So let's try that now. So let's say that we want to do a recursive move. So we want to move, and actually, I think move has a -r in it too. I don't. Another thing about move too is that, God, I don't know if I need to put this. Do we need to put the thing about moving across file systems? I don't know if we should put that here. Yes, I'm going to put a note here. People hit this one all the time too. Probably not. Okay. Note that mv sometimes will not work because the source and destination are on different file systems. I mean, that's enough, right? It's just a note. Somebody might run into that. It's a very esoteric, weird thing, but I remember as a beginner. Yeah, I remember as a beginner going, what the hell is happening here? And then sometimes it would make a copy. I mean, it's very unlikely that anybody's going to hit that. I mean, it's very unlikely. right? I am kind of interested though. So for example, if I do move scripts s shared, we have a shared mount, right? So if I do move new, I'm just curious. If I do move scripts to /scripts shared, I want to see if it does it. Nope. Operation up for a minute. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the reason it wouldn't work. We haven't done anything with the shared directory yet, but that's one reason it wouldn't work. Yeah. This is file directory. Oh, damn. This is going to be very interesting. No, yes, LVG. Oh my God. Everyone's rolling their eyes. We did like 20 minutes on it. Yeah. So there's the new scripts, right? So apparently that worked. So that's interesting. Yeah. So mounted. So mounts work. So if you're wondering what just happened, we haven't talked about it yet, but the way that we have mounted our container, we are sharing a directory with a directory that's on the host system, and the name of it is called shared, and that allows us to transfer files back and forth between our host machine, Windows or Mac, and the container itself. And so you can move things back and forth pretty easily. So like if you've downloaded something off the internet, you can put it into your container by putting it in that directory, and that's what that's for. We'll talk more about that a lot later, but I wanted to see if move was going to be limited by that, which it apparently is not. So that's good to know. And we did the recursive move. The thing I wanted to just show you though is that it's this is actually a very, very dangerous situation. Added, don't do that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So here we go. So we have two files here, right? And let's say we make a new directory called, I don't know, say, and we want to make a say directory, right? So we want to move, say, now the proper way to do this would be say, this is interesting. Watch what happens when you do this, because the directory is also named say. Now I do that all the time. That is not an error. That just says I couldn't move the say directory into itself, but it moved all the other stuff in there, right? So that's fine. All right, but let's do this a different way. So let's take all that stuff out of there, and we'll move it back out. Okay, let's remove this directory, say, and let's actually make a file named say. All right, so for whatever reason, let's pretend that we forgot that we accidentally created a file, maybe because we were just going fast and forgot to make turns, and we did touch instead. And then what? And then we do move say hello. Well, actually let's do say hello and say world, just to be very precise. And we want to move those into the directory say, but say is not a directory. What's going to happen? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess what's going to happen? So it says it's not a directory. Now we got lucky in that case. Sometimes it won't do that, right? So let's actually try it with the copy command. Let's see what the copy command does. Remember that? What does the copy command do? Oh, it's not a directory. Damn, we're getting protected. Thank God. That was not always the case, I can promise you. So that's good. That's good. That looks like they've added some built-in protections that were not there from before. There are definitely ways to overwrite that. And whether you're, whatever, just be really careful. Whenever you're moving something, just make sure it's a directory. That's the moral of the story. And thankfully, we got blocked both times today, trying to destroy our world here. You think doing globs would do it? Yeah. So I don't know about this one. Let's try this using say to say. Say is not a directory. Interesting. I mean, I'm kind of happy to run into that. I don't know if that's changed or if that's just something I forgot. But anyway, that's the way that you can really, make yourself have a bad day, is not knowing what things are. And again, as I've said, I have this problem with the program SCP all the time, which there's another command for copying between a remote system and a local system. And if you forget the semicolon at the end, you end up just making a local copy that's the name of the target destination. When we get into SCP and SSH, those things will come up. Let's see. You want to try one? People have got some other suggestions here. MV say H instead of say into Seder. Well, yeah. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, that killed it, didn't it? Now, see, that did not do what you were expecting, right? I mean, there's just a lot of variations. The takeaway is very simple. Make sure you're dealing with what you think you're dealing with, and you're not always going to have these pretty colors to show you. So when you do an LS, you're not going to get all the colors. You know, no, what is it? No color. I forget. What is? I don't even know. I don't know what it is. No color. There's a way to turn color off. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, color never. There we go. So you might be on a system that doesn't have color enabled, right? So that would be color equals never. In fact, my ls command is actually alias to color equals auto all the time. So why does that matter? Because let's do it again. So if I move say back to say hello, right? Get it back to the way it was. And I touch a new file called say, and then I ls. Oh, by the way, did you see that? You don't know about that yet. Our advanced people might want to know this too. So if you do /say, then it turns off all the aliases and types, and it just uses the one at whatever the path is. So in this case, it would be this. So you can just do if you want to be sure to get the actual binary. So now you really don't know, right? There's really no indication that it's a directory or not. So then you would have to actually do an ls-ld, and that just gives you the current directory. So ld star, and that'll show you everything in here. And let's do this so we don't get the color. So you see there that, oh, that's not a directory. All right, that's really it. And I think that's going to be the end for today. Thank you for joining me on YouTube. I know we went a long time. Again, we tend to go a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully you've made it through it. I've been kind of all over the board there, but the point here is for you to go experiment with everything, go play with it. I've spent more time than I wanted to on how to avert disaster today. And I think it's worth it, honestly. It's not the kind of stuff that people normally talk about. And I've, created multiple scenarios where you could really screw yourself up. And so hopefully as you're learning it, those things will go into your notes somehow and that they'll stick so you don't end up losing your job after you get that great job. We'll talk to you next week. And next week, I can already tell you what's going to be on the docket because we didn't get to it today. So next week, we're going to be searching for stuff inside of a file, and we're going to be starting to edit files. And as we go, we're going to be learning regular expressions. So it may be that we just learn that and that alone, how to look into files, how to navigate them, how to edit files dynamically, and how to do stuff to the files that alters them in any way, really, and to do that through a programmatic method as opposed to necessarily using an editor. And then we'll slowly move into how to use one of those tools from the command line also as an interactive editor, and then we'll move into VI, which will probably be in 2 weeks. And if you think this is too slow, I'm sorry, but it's just my style. That's how I do it. Hopefully this turns out to be something good for you. If you have any questions, you can go hit the Discord up. I am going to be answering a couple questions from Discord right now. I'm not going to do it on the stream. And I'm, generally here in the Discord if you ask a question. But more importantly, we have a lot of other people there to whom you can ask the questions. And this will get better every year as we continue to go. And we got your input. Thank you to our veterans who I gave a lot of crap to, who gave us input. Thank you, including all of those people who suggested RM-RF. At least 5 of you did. And And thank you for reminding me how to show people why that doesn't matter. And we'll see you next week.